finds if the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch.
Hello, my name is Harry Tambuadco. Welcome to our program. Yes, this is Politics Today on Talk to Harry at 8 o'clock every Monday. In this program, I would like to tackle, if it is okay with you viewers, a nauseating issue, a topic that has been in media for the last month, not last 2 months, but more so in 2012 more than any other time. This is about dynasties, the violation of Section 2, Article 2 and Section 26 of our very Constitution. Mind you, this is the same Constitution, the 1987 Constitution, that was put into play by the revolutionary government, by no less the mother of our president. Now, simple lang po yun eh. Tanggalin natin. Kung mukhang hindi tama at ayaw ng taong bayan, tanggalin natin sa konstitusyon. Or, since andyan na yan, itupad naman natin yung tama. It says it mandates or it instructs Congress to define the meaning of the word dynasty, which is to define between you and me. Ang tawag, let's see, the best terminology, the best answer for what is a dynasty, it is a long line of rulers in a family. Simple lang. Kamag-anak. In other words, kamag-anak Inc. Now, there's a lot of information that can be brought out. For example, in America, marami din naman dynasty na nag-rule over, may mga congressman doon, na senador who've been sitting down for 30, 40 years. I didn't realize that when they took a percentage across the board, 6% lang ang dynasty sa America. Do you know how many dynasties, what percentage in government we have dynasties sitting on it? It's a whopping 70%. And it's been growing, most especially in the last 10, 20 years. If we don't watch it, ang mangyayari po niyan, in about another 2 or 3 elections, wala na. Tawag dito, in the old days, we had 2-party system, di ba? The nationalista and the liberal. And then in 87, naging pasok nila multi-party system. I think in the next years, 3 to 6 years, matatawag yan, multi-family parties. Ganun na po mangyayari kasi everybody is part of a dynasty. Everybody. Son, the wife, the sister, the uncle, the grandmother, the grandfather, lahat na, you name it. Hanggang aso ata nila is everybody is well into government. Obviously, there is a price. You know what my fear is, ladies and gentlemen? I believe dynasties, when created, put their family into power. Ang nangyayari po dyan, they're there and they accumulate wealth. As they accumulate wealth, padaming pera niyan, siyempre, to protect your economic holding, that magkikreate ka ng army mo, mga security guards mo, your special private armies. At that point, you become, from dynasty, naging oligarch na. They treat the area as their fiefdom. Yan, teritoryo nila yan. At lahat ng mga tao nila dyan, subjugates. Lahat tayo mga subjugates nitong mga, hindi naman monarchy ito, presidential freedom nga eh. But no. And then, pag dynasty na, nagiging oligarchy na, sila-sila, lalala pa po yan. Because from the dynasty that they started, going into the monster called the oligarch, the appetites are insatiable. Walang tigil. You just cannot fill up this appetite. At the rate the Senate race is going, it's going to be owned by a number of families lang, a few family names. Mangyayari yan, what's going to stop these oligarchs from fighting each other? Because insatiable nga appetite, they're gonna want more. We already know these families that sit in Metro Manila. Do you think they will stop with their 5 dams or they would want bigger 5 dams, bigger area? Normal naman yan. People, man, human beings, di ba? Today we will discuss this issue, and no less, we have Attorney Alan Pagia, who will help me make sense out of this, at the same time temper my passion. Thank you for being here, Alan.
Thank you for having me.
Alam mo, hindi ko na kaya kasi itong issue ng dynasty, Attorney Alan, and it's eating me up. I'm running myself. I put my hat into the ring only because people like you and all the many guests I've had on the show keep telling me, alam mo, put your money where your mouth is, di ba? You want change, and you're so critical, help make the change, create the change. You know what? Sabi ko, you're right. And I'm in the crossroads of what's going on. But I do have issues. It's called dynasty. Attorney Alan, I know what the Constitution says. I've read it so many times when it comes to that. Why, bakit kayang-kaya bastusin ng Kongreso ang isang provision sa Constitution na sinasabi sa kanila, Congress needs to define this, di ba, and rules and guidelines per se. Bakit hindi nila magawa at ayaw nila magawa at ang taong bayan we're held hostage to this? Bakit?
There are not enough competent lawyers to represent the opposition.
Not enough.
Not enough. The law says, Section 26 of Article 2, which is cited, the state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. In other words, there are 2 things. Number 1, positive. It guarantees
So all
equal
playing field.
opportunities
Yeah.
for public service. Number 2, negative. It shall prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. Now, you mentioned the word meaning.
Yes, meaning.
As may be, the meaning as may be defined by law.
Definition of the word dynasty.
Yes, but there is a definition of dynasty. There is a definition. What you quoted earlier is one definition of dynasty, a long line of rulers. No? And it is also defined in Black's Law Dictionary as a powerful or influential group or family which continues in existence for a considerable time. Substantially the same.
Substantially.
In other words, this has a legal meaning. Now, understand this, that the Constitution says, shall prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. Most of our legislators think that, especially those who are against it, that unless they pass a law, it's all right to have political dynasties. You have bad news for them. That is not true. Why? Because while the word definition and meaning are used interchangeably, they have different meanings. There is a difference. Meaning is the essence. Definition is the limit of the meaning. For instance, theft. Not all theft is robbery. Not all taking of property is theft. There is simple theft. There is qualified theft. Those are limitations. In other words, it is not correct to say that under the Constitution, political dynasty has no meaning. It has meaning. But the definition, the limits of that meaning, has to be determined by law. In other words, what is the rule? What is the meaning then? As may be defined by law. The Supreme Court quotes the Black's Law Dictionary. Many lawyers quote the Black's Law Dictionary. And precisely, as you pointed out, that is the legal definition of political dynasty. Powerful or influential group or family which continues to exist for a considerable time. That is the meaning. Now, what are the limits of that meaning? That is what will be provided by law. In other words, there's bad news for people who believe that under the Constitution, there is a useless prohibition. No, there is a useful prohibition, except that we don't have enough competent lawyers to explain this in Congress, it seems.
You mean to tell me the violators have already violated. Because
Yes.
many of them, even the president is saying he's not violated because hindi pa rin eh.
But he's not a lawyer.
How about Enrile? He's a dynasty. He's got his son coming into the Senate. Dynasty din yan.
Well, all right. So, prescinding from the definition in law, a powerful or influential group or family which continues to exist for a considerable time, where is the violation? That would be your question to me. Now, in law, matters or actions are void not only because they are contrary to law, they are also void if they are contrary to morals.
This is
They are
contrary to
also
morals.
void, not yet. They are also void if they are contrary to public order or good customs or public policy. In other words, the violation refers to the violation of the public policy established behind Section 26 of Article 2. The fact that the Filipino people say the state shall prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law, that is already a public policy. So, even if it has not yet been defined or delimited by law, the meaning, the essence of political dynasty would constitute a violation of public policy, which under the law could also be a void act.
So, I can actually sue them and take them to court at talo na kagad sila.
Yes, and
Violation na kagad.
yes, and then force the court to make a decision on a singular issue, whether or not the relationship, which must be more or less within the third degree of
Fourth
consanguinity.
degree.
Third degree only.
Third
I will
one.
explain why. Third degree of consanguinity or affinity, and raise to the court the issue of whether it is violative of the public policy behind the Constitution or not.
Okay. So, they're in total violation already. What is there left for the court to decide?
Whether it violates the public policy. Remember, these politicians, they think that just because they can stop
Oo nga.
legislation from defining political dynasty, they think they can get away with it. Not so fast. Because what they're preventing is violation of law. But the law also provides violation of public policy shall render the act void,
Void.
from the beginning. Void means no legal existence. It never happened in the eyes of the law.
Oh my God. So, what is holding us all back? Why has it taken it this long? Why have the people allowed this to metastasize to what it is today? I mean, ngayon, malala na talaga, Senado na eh. Hindi na sa probinsya ito,
but
hindi na
even-
local government.
Even the authors of the Constitution did not even fail to also failed to distinguish between definition and meaning, and then violation of law from violation of public policy.
So where does that
how
stand?
can you-
Where does that leave us on the law?
Then-
And on the Constitution?
Then
on the
we
Constitution.
base it on the constitutional prohibition. Is it clear or not clear? It says the state shall prohibit
That part is clear.
political dynasty as
Prohibit.
may be provided by law.
As may be provided.
All right. Now, is there a public policy behind that? Yes, that is the policy. Precisely, Article 2,
Section 2.
the title of Article 2, Section 26,
Section 26, Article
is Declaration of Principles and State Policies. So it's a policy.
It's a state policy
Yes.
already.
So, if you violate that policy, then it's also void under the civil code, because being elected requires a contract to be made between the elected and the electors. And in fact, he receives salaries from the Filipino people.
Correct.
That is a contract. That contract will be void because of violation of public policy.
Which is Article 2.
Article 2, Section 26, in relation to Article 1409 of the Civil Code, which defines what are void contracts.
Why have we not done anything? The lawyers are weak. The lawyers
Because
don't want
there
to
are
do it.
not enough competent lawyers in the opposition. And even in the discussion of this article or this section of this prohibition, in the records of the Constitutional Commission, nothing was discussed regarding violation of public policy. Nothing was discussed regarding the difference between definition and meaning.
Ikaw, let's sidestep from the law. Do you believe that we require dynasties? Because the study that four gentlemen put together from the AIM and the Ateneo School of Economics, namely Ronald Mendoza, Edsel Beja Jr., David Baruayap, and Victor Benida. They're all doctorate degree holders. They made a long study, they made a paper, and ladies and gentlemen, should you want to read it, just go into Philippines, political dynasties in the Philippines, and you will find this document. They made a study that the areas where you had political dynasties, the growth of the people and the economics of that specific area have been slow and very, very slow. In fact, their social services have been slower and growth and progress. And yet, they seem to continue to get stronger rather than get pushed out by the people. Ikaw, do you agree that we should have dynasties? Ako, I keep reading all sorts of things. I've seen them in action. I'm scared of the pre-martial law days, which is slowly, if not very quickly, creeping back into the scenario today. Tama ba sa'yo? Take out the law first. Ikaw ba sang-ayon ka sa dynasty?
You cannot take it. You cannot take the law away from me, but because it goes into the intrinsic essence of dynasty. What I can say is that dynasty is unconstitutional because it is undemocratic. Because it supports the rule of minority, which is the opposite or antithesis of the rule of majority, which is the essence of democracy.
Then why has it persisted all this time?
Because nobody has taken up the cudgels to explain to the people that they already have a working prohibition in the Constitution.
So only in this program right now is it being declared that these people, these dynasties that are now existing, are actually dapat void and be disqualified.
They are void because they violate the public policy stated in Section 26 of Article 2.
If I wanted to go against the dynasties as a whole, to do justice to the Filipino people, for the majority of the good of the people, should I go after the COMELEC to disqualify these candidates, whether sitting and those who are asking for new positions, or do I go to the courts?
You go to the courts because if you go to the COMELEC, they will first protect themselves.
No, but the COMELEC is the one that allows them to be candidates. Should not the COMELEC be the one to be bothered to go to court and then for them to follow the rule of law?
Because your cause of action will be a declaration of the public policy, the violation of a public policy stated in the Constitution. It's a question of pure question of law. And the COMELEC being a quasi-judicial body, it's beyond its competence to make decisions on that.
So you really have to go to
It should
court.
be with the court. It should be with the Supreme Court.
Straight to the Supreme Court
Yes, you
for
can.
them to rule.
Yes, because it's a question of constitutionality.
My God.
Yeah,
You
it
make
will
it
be
sound
easier.
so simple, Attorney Alan.
But it is simple.
And yet no one's tackled it because, like you said, the lack of competence among all the legalists.
Yes, I think so. Because I've never heard anybody discuss it in relation to the applicable provisions of the Civil Code on contracts, void contracts, and in relation to Section 26 of Article 2. And no distinction between violation of public policy and violation of law. They were all focused on avoiding violation of law. That's why they
Violation
never
of law,
passed. They never
legislation.
passed any law.
But not
defining
realizing
but forgetting that the prohibition in the Constitution already establishes a public policy, the effect of which is the same. It renders the violation, the act constituting a violation, void from the beginning, following the language of the Civil Code. From the beginning.
and yet we've allowed it to get this far.
There is not enough legal scholarship around.
I've heard you say that a couple of times. I'll give you some more some more notations. A dynasty, a consecutive series of monarchs in the same family lineage. It refers to the familiar grouping that preserves power and authority for many generations together. What is the Black's definition again? Magkakamag-anak, pero up to third degree of consanguinity.
Wait a minute. The Black says, following your first definition, a succession of lines,
Yes.
succession of rules
Rulers.
in
a
the
family.
same line or family. And number 2, it says, a powerful or influential group or family which continues in existence for a considerable time. Now, it is as basic as that. But then, you have to understand this political dynasty has an equivalent in the Civil Service Decree, in the Civil Service Law, contained in the Administrative Code of 1987. You see, there are 2 ways of putting people in government. One is by election. One is by appointment. What the democratic principle prohibits is monopoly of government, either by election or by appointment. So, by election, you call it dynasty. That's why you already have the ban on against political dynasties.
Yes.
And insofar as appointed positions are concerned, you have the rule on nepotism. That is where the law has already defined what would be the equivalent of political dynasty as dynasty in the civil service. You call it nepotism. And it applies to any appointment involving relationships within the third degree of consanguinity or affinity.
Nepotism in the civil service, ibig sabihin, mag-asawa, magkapatid, third degree.
Yes.
But they've been doing it. They've been appointing each other. I hate to say it, the abads, di ba, right in the executive branch. Maraming ganun, di ba? They appoint their own brother, sister,
Nobody's
family.
questioning.
Need someone always complain when it comes to law? Does the law always require a complainant to bring it up to the Supreme Court?
In a generally reactive legal system like ours, you have to nudge the ombudsman before it will exercise its
But isn't it the
power
role?
to investigate.
But it is really the role of the ombudsman, their responsibility to investigate.
Under the Constitution, yes.
Naku, we're going to open up that subject. Alan, we're going to have to take a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. This is really opening up even more avenues. Please listen, because you may have a role to play here if you too wish to get rid of these dynasties and now nepotism. We'll be right back.